What's up, everyone? It's Nick from Team Nitro YGO here, and today I'm bringing you my Hand Trap Yummy deck profile for September 2025, heading into the Lansing Regional. I wasn't originally going to play this event, but now that I've got the time off work and I really want to just have my invite for the year secured, I figured, I might as well try to source out the card. So shout out to my homeboy Jake for letting me borrow the whole deck, and shout out to all the local crew for loaning me individual cards that I needed. Love you guys to death. So as always, if you just want the deck list, it will be in the description. It will be the first link as a dueling book image. Otherwise, stick around if you want to hear all about the theory and thought process as to why certain cards are in the deck. So 40 cards in the main. We'll start with the Yummy engine first. Very concise. I'd say very standard for the most part. 3 Cupsy, Stratos is broken, 3 Cookie, or 3 Lollipo. DD Crow is actually kind of nice right now. Like, this card just does so much heavy lifting in a lot of matchups, especially in the mirror. This card being able to hit snatchies and field spells does a lot of work. 3 Cookie, being able to pop a monster or even just shrink a monster so that you can clear it in battle is huge. 3 Obedience Gold, best card in the deck. It's pretty much the only reason this deck can even play going second. But yeah, you ever resolve this card, you're like 90% to win. It's broken. 2 Engage, 1 Hornet Drone. So I was playing 3 Engage to start. I just found that throughout a lot of testing, this card was kind of dead. You have a lot of time where you just don't want to draw it. And also, like, you're never getting 3 spells, so it's just searching this. So, I mean, it being a 1-card combo is great and all, but it's a 1-card combo that plays into Ash and Imperm, and I wanted to maximize on other cards. Plus, I just wanted Hand Trap number 20 more than I wanted Engage number 3. Prosp. I'm really bad at Yu-Gi-Oh! I fucking hate Prosp in this deck. Like, every time I go to Prosp and banish out of my extra, I just have no fucking clue what to do. It's, like, so infuriating. So part of me wants to just cut this card entirely and play like 1-for-1 or something, but that's infinitely worse because this card can dig you for non-engine and can also dig for side deck cards. So I would just play Prosp 100%. I'm just really bad at Yu-Gi-Oh! And wanted to bitch about it. So 16 1-card combos. Now for the engine requirements. 1 of each field spell, a Croaky and Minion. I think a Croaky is dog shit. I think this card is 100% cuttable. I just think that it gives you enough edge in both the mirror match and against K9 that this card is still mandatory. And like, it lets you just do a bunch of combos in game 1 that are basically nib proof if you just start with this. Because it means if you ever get nibbed, you get to summon name from deck. You make 3rd Snatchy, and now all your hand effects are still alive, so you can just like keep playing. Minyong is how you kill them. It's like the best card in the deck. Funnily enough, you can still win if this card gets SP'd just by maintaining your resources a lot better than your opponent. But it does get a lot harder because this card means that your monster, like, without this card, your monsters have like no attack points. So it is really important that you make sure that this card does not get banished. But if it does get banished, you can you have an uphill battle. And then 2 Surprise. I thought about playing 3. This card is very powerful because each of the effects are once per turn, not just the card. So if you ever get to do multiples, you can do like 1 to bounce, 1 to summon. The field spell replacement effect is basically how you save your Minyong from getting SP'd, like a lot of the time. You always have to keep that in mind, because if your opponent can never make SP, sometimes they just will. So you always want to make sure that you account for that when you're making your board. But yeah, this card is also like how you play through Nib as well, like through Nib, through Bell, through all the interaction in the format. The only reason I don't like playing 3 of it is that you can, it's very similar to Engage, where if you, or it's not similar to Engage, because if you draw Engage by itself, it's combo. But if you draw this by itself with no other engine, it just doesn't do anything. And, like, you need to have multiple names for this to function, really. Especially if you're trying to, like, bounce and, like, if you're trying to, like, answer, like, say, a Masquerade plus Ripper, or, like, Masquerade plus Holy Sue, like, you just have to have 2 bodies. So if you don't have 2 bodies, the card just doesn't do anything. So 20 engine cards. Now on to the 20 non-engine cards. We're going to start with 3 Ash, just ubiquitous. This card's almost just mandatory right now because it negates Charmies, it negates Obedience Gold. It's just very powerful. 3 Imperm. This card being able to interact with end board pieces is really important. So it's also a trap that doesn't turn on fucking K9 cards. That's huge. 3 Veiler. This card kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It pairs really well with Imperm, though, because it just means you have like a lot of effect negation for their turn. 3 Foolos, because it's broken. Didn't main Perulia. I did think about maining Perulia, because it does kind of pair well with all the other hand traps that I'm playing. But the problem with main Perulia is that it's only good into VSK9 and good into nothing else right now. So I wanted cards that were more flexible than that. 3 Purge. I have a love-hate relationship with this card because it is very powerful, but the things that it feels like there's so many games where this card just can't hit the thing you want it to hit. Like Obedience Gold, for example. Like this card not being able to hit Obedience Gold, whereas Ash can, is huge. But also this card, like part of the reason to play this card is that it just covers the Draco Tail matchup so nicely, and it's probably the worst matchup in the meta right now for this deck. Like just being able to have an answer to the Searchers, the spell cards, the traps. Like it's just so important. And also just like again having ways to interact with cards like Talent and cards like Engage and even like Mad Love to search or Raisin to search. Like having ways to interact with those is so huge. And if you ever have Imperm Engrave or a second Purge when you activate this, oh my god, you get to cook. You just get to cook. But yeah, this card is. I don't want to say it's a mandatory. I think it does increase the ceiling of the deck by a fair amount because it just means you just have more ways to interact profitably with your opponent's engine cards. But it certainly is frustrating at times when they do something that you just can't purge, and purge is your only piece of disruption. 2 Ogre as a concession to the mirror, and it can randomly come up against things like K9. Mostly rogue decks is where this card really shines, I found. Like, funnily enough, like at locals last night, I played against Mitsurugi, and just being able to like Ogre the IP so they can't make Dynamondo on my turn was so huge. It just like almost ended the chain of resources entirely. Then all I had to beat was Murakumo plus prayers. Like this card just does so much lifting. It's really good in the mirror, being able to Ogre Snatchy so that they don't get to reborn the field spell or reborn off the field spell. Like you just force them to commit to something really early. Or like even on your turn, being able to Ogre the Snatchy so that they can't synchro is also huge. Even ogring like Lupus to summon, or ogring what's its face, getting to ogre Rock as well matters a ton too. And then 3 Rock is my last hand trap. I know a lot of Yummy lists don't play this card. I think right now it's actually pretty good. A lot of lists are underprepared for it, and even the combo decks that do have an answer to this card, you can make their lines just so awkward with a Nibiru. And it seems kind of counterintuitive in this deck because you have Obedience School and Engage, which are 2 starters that require you to not have monsters on field. But you'll see in the extra deck we have accounted for that. And also, like, you still have 10 engine cards that you can draw that don't care about Nib being in the main monster zone. So this card is just, I think, in a hand trap deck, because again, we're playing 20 hand traps. Like we are trying to draw 3 non-engine every single game that we play with this deck. And so when you're playing this much non-engine, this card really shines. You're always going to pair it with some piece of interaction, so it's going to basically nullify your opponent's end board massively. Or at the very least, it's going to trade for their best piece of negation, so that on your turn you can just go nuts. So yeah, I've been very impressed with Nibiru. Really, the only matchup where it's bad is Draco Tail. And I think I am okay. I think I'm okay losing a little bit of edge against Draco Tail so that I have edge against the rest of the format. So that's kind of where I'm at with this card. I think if you wanted to cut this card, I think that's absolutely fine. If you were to cut this card, I would cut it for the 3rd Engage and then 2 other hand traps. I'm not sure which ones they would be, whether it be Bell or Perulia. I could even see an argument for just playing more engine too. Playing like a 1-for-1 and then like Puri Ray map or something like that, and just like decreasing the amount of hand traps. But I don't know. That's a really tough hill to climb for sure. So anyway, 40 cards in the main. Like I said, I've been pretty happy with this configuration. The only card that's been sus is Nib, but like I just talked about it. I think this card is worth the slot. The only other thing I would try to make room for is the 3rd Engage because it is a starter. But like I said, I just felt like the deck wanted hand trap number 20 more than it wants engine piece number 17. But I could be wrong about that. I definitely could be wrong. Also 1-for-1. I think when you're playing 19 hand traps, 14 of them being monsters, 1-for-1 gets a lot better. But it is card disadvantage, which is not great. So that's like the only consideration there. Shout out to Rick and Morty and the boys. Onto the extra deck. It's pretty standard for the most part. 3 Snatchy, just the best link 1 in the game. On summon, go get a field spell, and then quick effect to synchro. This card just does it everything. And then for the synchros, 1 Cupsy, 1 Lollipo, and 1 cookie. Lollipop is just soul charge. It's fucking dumb. Like, Cupsy being a search is great, and Cookie being double book. This card does a lot of lifting for you. Going second into boards, just being able to like double book things, and then you could beat over them in battle with minion. This card is like by far one of the most important cards in the extra deck. If I were to play 2 of any of them, I think I'd play 2 of Lollipop before any other ones. Because Lollipop being the soul charge, I think comes up more on the follow-up turn than it does the other 2 effects. Because you're always going to have hand names, and the book is like kind of whatever. And then for utility, we have the Almirage. With all these hand traps, being able to go normal hand trap, make Almirage, and then start playing is huge. Kagari for the Hornet drones. I'm not going to try to pronounce this thing, but the Onari link to. This card's broken. It is so dumb. The amount of games that I'm able to steal from this card just setting called by or surprise is insane. And this card was the only debate between hand traps and breakers for me, because this card setting Cosmic Cyclone, Forbidden Droplet, Book of Eclipse, that is the only reason I'd ever consider playing breakers in this deck. I still don't think it's that convincing of an argument because the engine itself is so weak at breaking boards. But the fact that this card gains utility and just setting all those cards is so good. SP Little Knight, just the best link 2 in the game. And I apologize for the proxy. I have not been able to find one locally. This is Donner Dagger for Hire. It's a link 2. Basically, what its effect is it targets a for hire monster on your field and a monster on your opponent's field and destroys them both. So what you do is after you nib them, so you normal summon any monster, any yummy, any hand trap, because there just has to be 2 monsters of different types. So you link off the nib and the monster that you summoned for Donner. Donner effect, target itself and the token to pop them both. Now your field's empty and you can activate Obedient Schooled. You can activate Schooled, you can activate Engage, you can activate whatever starter you need. And this card's also just like a link to utility monster that you can make as removal. If your hand is like all engine and you just like need to get a monster off the board. So I'm not playing Link Spider. This is like the Link Spider slot because I just don't think you need it. I think you're well insulated by Nibiru as it is. A lot of your combos are just very good into Nib to begin with. So I just don't think the Link Spider is required. If you wanted to play the Link Spider, then you could cut this. Or you could cut one of the other cards I'm going to talk about. And then onto the synchros. Metal Marcher, card's crazy. Starham, card is also crazy. This card being able to trigger your yummy effects is huge. And the fact that it brings the thing back as a tuner means that you just basically get a free Herald. And then 2 Heralds. So this is like the last flex slot in the extra deck, I think, is the second Herald. I personally like the second Herald. Even though I've only ever made it a couple of times in testing. Just the flexibility of being able to make the second Herald, especially on your opponent's turn, I think is worth the extra deck slot at the moment. But there's a ton of different things this card could be. I don't think it's set in stone at all. I have seen people play Typhon over this card, which I think is also fine. I've seen people play Merry Melfies, which is a very interesting tech that you can make while you're under Obedient Schooled, which is very cool. It's just a bounce, but it bounces any card on your opponent's field. So that's a very interesting type of removal. I just think the double Herald comes up, and it like this secures some of your bad matchups, like Dracotail and Mitsurugi. Just being able to like make this as a floodgate against them is huge. So, because often the end board is going to be Snatchy in the EMZ, plus any main deck Yummy, plus Herald, plus Surprise Set, which depending on how you want to interact with your opponent. This is like 6 pieces of interaction that make a second Herald. Like, I would rather have the ability to flex this card into something on my opponent's turn rather than it being just like some stupid fucker that you're never going to make in a million years. So that's why I'm on the second Herald right now. But as I've discussed, I don't think it is like a mandatory at all. I think of the 2 flex slots in the extra deck that you have, because I think the other 13 are mandatory. I will say that. I think like these cards right here are all mandatory. Every single one of them. Except that if you're playing Breakers, this should be a Anima. But these 13 cards I would say are all mandatory. You only have like 2 extra deck slots. So these could be Link Spider Typhon. It could be Link Spider Merry Melfi. It could be Merry Melfi Typhon even for all I know. This is just what I've been testing, and I've been enjoying it quite a lot. I have been very happy with all of these inclusions. I haven't really missed the Typhon at all either. That's the other thing is like, you would think that with a deck like this, you would really want the Typhon when you go second. Just really hasn't come up. Often when you go second, you just fucking kill them. So the Typhon doesn't really matter because they're just dead half the time. But that's just me. So that is the extra deck. We're going to move on to the sideboard. So for the side deck, we have 3 Bell. This card is here as coverage for the Mirror Match and for Draco Tail. This is a main deck consideration as well. If you didn't want to main the Nibs, you could main these inside the Nibs. But I really like main deck Nibiru right now, as I've discussed already. This card's pretty good. And again, this card does a lot of work against Rogue too. 2 Perulia. I only was able to access 2 Perulia for this for the regional. I would play 3 of this card 100%. I think just it's a little too weak to main deck right now because of VSK9. Specifically because, again, that's the only deck where this card is actively going to get you a lot of draws. Because, like, in the Yummy Mirror, it's not going to get you a lot of draws. Draco Tail can give you 0 draws. VSK9 can also give you 0 draws sometimes, depending on how cracked their hand is. So I think this card is better off in the side deck for knowing when you go second or in the VS matchup. And then this might be Copium, but I've been a big fan of these cards recently. So it's Gamma, Delta, and Driver. Basically, these cards are just going second cards for every matchup in the game. I just didn't want to play a hand trap like Droll or Lancia that only had coverage into like a very specific subset of the format. I wanted a going second card that you could just always board into. Like, again, when you're playing 20 hand traps, you always want to draw hand traps that pair well with each other. These pair with pretty much every hand trap insanely well, except for Imperm. But, like, that's whatever. Like, you ever open Delta plus Nib or Delta plus Purge, or Valor plus Delta is still really good. Like, there's no matchup pretty much where I don't want these cards when I go second. And I just think that they do enough for covering the weaknesses of the deck. But they are cuttable, though. I think in a ideal world, I would cut them for the 3rd Perulia, and then either, depending on what you want to target, 3 Retaliating Sea, 3 Droll, or 3 Lancia, depending on what you think like the worst matchup is for the slot. And then for the going first cards, we have the Power Spells and Called By and Talents. Get these cards out of my fucking game, please. They're broken as all hell. But if they're legal, they are in the deck. I didn't want to main deck them because they're not that great going second, funnily enough. Talents can be sometimes. But for the most part, they're here for when you go first, just to be the nail in the coffin. Because when you go first, you have 3 Fuas and 3 Valors that you want to get out of your deck. So I wanted to have 6 cards that I could always board into. Or 3 Fua, 3 Nib, depending on the matchup. 1 Gozen. I think Gozen's better than Rivalry in this deck. Also with Nib as well. If you Nib and then Gozen them, they have a token. They have a light token, so that like, but you can still summon all your yummies, so that's like whatever. And you can still summon Herald under this card, whereas with Rivalry you can't. So I think it's just a slightly better Floodgate. Not by much, but I do think it has its utility. And it auto wins going first against like 90% of the format. And then 3 Judgment, because people are packing Mass Packer removal and Breakers, and just you want to stop them because your engine can't. So 3 Judgment. So, and that is going to do it for the list. As I talked about earlier, I'm not like super in love with this deck. I think that just... sorry, I'm just really trying to think of my words here. Like, I do think it is the best deck in the format, but I don't think it's by much. I think it is competing with VS, K9, Draco Tail, and Crystron for like a pretty big metagame representation. This deck just being a 1-card combo deck is what drew me to it. I've basically been playing 1-card combo decks for the last like couple of years now. Like you'll see, like I still play Salad. I picked up what is it? I played Tenpai for a while. That was a 1-card combo deck as well. Like I like the ability to just play a 1-card combo deck with 15 to 20 non-engine in it, because just non-engine in Yu-Gi-Oh is just so good that why would you ever minimize it? Like I'd always want to play more. And also the other thing with this deck too is because none of your effects activate in the hand or in the graveyard, basically your opponent's K9 cards don't do a goddamn thing, which is insanely important if people are going to put K9 into a lot of decks. That's like the only reason to play Breakers too, is if you play Breakers, K9 cards literally can't get activated against you at all. But I think it makes you worse into decks like Malix, Mitsu, Raziel, and Crystron, and I'd rather just have hand traps for those decks. But Anyway, this was a bit of a long video, but thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Hopefully I was able to explain all my card choices gracefully. As per usual, again, the deck list is in the description if you just want to take a look at the deck list, along with my Facebook and my Twitter. Go follow me and go friend me. I'm going to post some cool stuff over there. And that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys sticking it out. My name is Nick from Team Nitro YGO, and I'll catch you all in the next one.